World Cup. You mentioned the FIFA World Cup currently underway. Let's do a bit of deep diving and have some takeaways. There's some wild things going on and wild results going on.
Yeah, I just wanted to start with, as we were finishing the show last week, we started talking about a bit of football, and you dismissed what I had to say about South Africa and Australia in the World Cup. Just wanted to
What did
see,
you
like,
say?
I just said, you were like dismissing Australia's chances, and you were sort of saying like, oh yeah, good luck. And I said, oh mate, when's the last time that South Africa made the quarters? And you quickly hushed off, and then I got off the podcast very quickly on air. So go back and listen to the end of it. I just wanted to like check the pulse of how you're doing after the first round of games for both South Africa and Australia, mate.
I can tell you, since those results, you've been waiting for this moment. You've been chomping at the bit to get recording and
Correct,
talk about
correct,
this.
100%. I've got receipts, mate. I keep them, and I'm very interested. I also said on the podcast last week, the Australians keep receipts, and they love being an underdog.
Mm.
And that's been interesting. We'll get to that in a second. But I found this, the World Cup has engrossed social media, which I think is great, and much of it's been really cool, really fun stuff. And there's some cool stats here that have come out as well, which I think are great. The Netherlands haven't lost a game, a 90-minute match, sorry. So a match that finished in 90 minutes since 2006.
Is that right?
Yeah. So they've lost overtimes and penalty
Yeah,
shootouts, but not
yeah.
a 90-minute match since
Wow.
2006.
And did I send this to you? Did you send it to me? There's a scientist who's got a model that has correctly predicted every single result.
We
I think
talked about this because I picked them in December, and I
yeah,
think I picked them to beat Portugal in the final, and then the
yeah,
scientists came out and I brought this up on the podcast. So
yeah.
yes.
So he picks the Netherlands. I can't see that, I must say. They do create a lot of chances, but they've been awful at finishing them. But let's see. Let's see.
You only need to finish one, mate. So
True.
let's see. But also, we talked a lot on this podcast about people moving around, coaches coaching different countries, whether they're allowed to, uh, you know, players moving and changing nationalities. So Morocco fielded their whole team, the whole starting team, born outside of Morocco.
What?
Yeah. Every single one of them was born outside of Morocco.
Okay, I think I
Uh,
actually saw this. Yeah, yeah. I think it's strategic. Uh, I have some input. I have some things to say, but carry on.
Please say them. Say
No,
them.
no, I don't know what you want to talk about, but I was actually fascinated by their rise. In the last World Cup in Qatar, they were the first ever African team to reach the semifinals. And then they've been really good this World Cup again. So I actually Googled the other day, like, why are they so good? This is one of the strategic blocks to what they did was what you're speaking to. They tapped into the diaspora and their large Moroccan community living in other countries, developed by other academies very smartly, who aren't making it into those national teams because competition is so rife. But then back at home as well, the King built a $17 million academy back in 2009. So what they are doing, this is smart. So what they're doing with these athletes, they're obviously the heroes, and they're getting the headlines and the attention and inspiring the next generation. And then at home, they are developing the next generation in his academy. But the cool thing is, most of them won't make it to the pro ranks. So most athletes leave the academy with a bachelor degree, apparently, as well, with an education, which is very cool. So it looks like they're setting up their football nation for years.
Well, it's about using sport as a vessel to develop as a human. I used to argue about this when I ran a rugby academy all the time. Like, success isn't necessarily playing for the national team or playing professionally. It could be coaching, refereeing, officiating, or giving back, becoming a staff member at that academy, whatever it is, right? You can just use it as a vessel to learn. But, I've seen a lot of stats around different teams and the number of people from different countries, but France is exporting the most players by far,
Yeah.
like by a
Yeah.
country mile, which doesn't surprise anybody again. Interestingly, Curaçao is basically the Netherlands B. It is both a Dutch colony, but also has 25 of 26 players born in the Netherlands. So, that is effectively the Netherlands B team, which speaks to how good, how many players are in that country, right? We talk about this, in the rugby, we could talk about the Springboks fielding two teams as well, and it would be similar.
I watched their game. I need to go fact check this. I thought the commentator said one of the Carousel players, this is the sixth or seventh nation that he's playing for, that he has represented.
Can't be.
It can't be right, but yeah, I need to go and double check that, man.
Surely FIFA wouldn't allow it. I mean, most of these guys are only getting to 4 World Cups, so and you'd have a stand down period between them.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get to more than 4 World Cups, so it'd be difficult to get. And your stand down period would be a couple of years, so it'd be difficult. But maybe. I also saw that Tunisian coach was fired. They got beaten by
Yes.
Sweden 5-1. He was fired straight away. He's got two more matches, and like this guy's gone. Now there was like I heard a bit of a dissection of some of his tactical decisions and selections, and it sounded pretty rough, but still like that's not great.
I think it's a good call. You lose 5-1, it's not going to get better. This is your only you're in the World Cup. Now with a new coach it might not get much better, but you
It
probably
won't.
stand more of a better chance. Some
I
new
mean, unless the players wanted him gone and they
Yeah,
were
yeah,
like, listen,
yeah.
we're not going to play, right? We'll hear that after the World Cup or whatever. But yeah. I also saw this Mikel Oyarzabal, who's a Spanish forward, was the first player since 1966 to play the first 30 minutes of a match and not touch the football.
Whoa, really?
Yeah,
I watched their
didn't
game.
touch it.
Actually, come to think of it, I watched their game, and when I saw him, I thought he had come on as a substitute because I'd barely seen him. Now that you mention it,
Yeah, not great. That's not
wow,
great.
that's fascinating.
Um, and then the keepers, they're having a day. Like the keepers are having an absolute day. I think probably the player group that's having the best day are the keepers. So the Cape Verde one is probably the highest profile, Vozinha. So he's a 40-year-old. He went from obviously had a great day against
Spain
who the Spain. Yeah, had a
nil
great day
nil.
against.
They drew with
Kept a
Spain
clean
nil
sheet.
nil. Yeah, and thanks
Yeah,
to him.
yeah, he did a lot of good work there, and he went from 20,000 to 6.2 million followers on Instagram as a result of that.
In
So he's
24
got
hours, less than
yeah
24 hours.
more than Tim
Crazy.
Payne now. So that's quite cool. I saw some really good stuff. Him talking about some of the challenges he's had, and his family and all this sort of thing. So it was really cool to see that and see how emotional he was. Also, the Australian goalie Beach. So he replaced Matty Ryan, who's the captain, had played 100 games for the Socceroos, and he's in La Liga, kept them up, his team up there. And then Beach is chosen. This young kid plays for Melbourne City in the Australian A League, and they chose him, and he had 8 saves, had a blind the game. So like really gutsy call from Popovic to do that, and it paid off, which was crazy. Like he was, I mean, the defense was good, but like he still had to make 8 saves.
What was the
So
result?
they won 2-0 over Turkey, and that was a huge upset. And Mike Greller, or Greyer, however he pronounces it Greller because he's American, but I'm sure he's not as confident as he was a little while ago. That happens probably around the time this episode goes out. That match will be on, or within a few hours, maybe 12 hours or so. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Australia game there. But I've seen them in betting markets are about 85% chance to go through, which is quite be quite impressive to see Australia go through to that next round. I think we were talking off air before. They were picked as last in the group. Everyone was picking them to come last. I think that so in effect they're having beaten Turkey already. I think they've probably
Oh, they'll go
overperformed
through.
already.
They'll go
Yeah,
through
they'll probably
because
go through.
top
But
three, this World Cup, if you finish third, you're likely to go three. Top three goes
yeah,
through this because of the amount of teams.
okay. I thought it was top one and then a couple of seconds go through. But anyway, the point being, I think people misunderstand championship football. Again, back to the defensive thing. Australia, everyone's commenting on how tall Australia's defenders are. Like, why are you surprised by that? Like, go find the athletes and make them good footballers. And then similarly, like I saw some stuff on social media about the amount of prep. Australia got to America before anybody else did. 5 weeks. They had a 5-week camp. They went and did all the in-your stuff, checking hotels for noise and light and mattresses and all that. They've planned everything. They'll know exactly where they'll be, where they'll train, all that stuff, all the way through to the final if they need to be.
Oh
They
wow!
sent their performance team ahead of time to go do this. Like, this is what, one of the things Australia does really well is sports science in a team sport environment. And I think, it's a 1% or a 5% or whatever, but like when you talk about buy-in and culture and all those things and like the champion team versus the team of champions, I think the cost, I think I saw something like the Turkey team is more than 10 times the cost of the Australian team in terms of transfer values or salary values or whatever it is. So
I can
you
believe it,
really
but
are.
the Turkish team does have Arda Güler, who's plays for Real Madrid, and he's one of the most sought after players. So he would bump up that big time. But
Sure.
still,
Yeah, and so it's quite interesting. And I mean, like the captain, I think probably this guy made the point that like they still played better than Australia did. It's like yeah, it's fine, and it's true, and that's the challenge of football, right? This is what we were talking about before.
yeah.
That is the challenge of football.
We could talk about this for ages, but we do have to move on before we leave the World Cup chat. Any other takeaways?
Well, like some of the stuff that's been coming out with the fans has been awesome. the Scots taking over Boston has been unbelievable. There was a video of them, the Pipers going down playing Scotland the Braves wedding, going towards the going towards the stadium. They took over the Red Sox stadium and sang "Flower of Scotland," and then the Dutch showing the Texans all about how they support people and their left to right jumping and singing. So it's just been really cool to see that, and just everyone embracing it and really getting involved. And then of course the ref cam, which has been cool. Like ref
Oh,
cam for
super
goals has
cool.
been unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I've really loved that.
I love the changes that, just last thing I'm going to say in the World Cup, I love the changes that they brought in now. So if the ref mistakenly gives a goal kick and it was a corner, VAR can overturn it and vice versa. Also, players have 5 seconds to take a throw in. When substitutes are made, you have to get off the pitch. That substitute has 10 seconds to get off the pitch. If they fail to do so, the player coming on has to stay off for a further minute, an extra minute. So I just love these changes that they've brought into the game, just making it like more dynamic, faster, etc., etc. Obviously, catering to a younger generation and how they consume sports.
Agree. Well, no, just fixing it. It was broken. So yeah, I agree. I mean,
Yeah,
yes, maybe catering to a younger generation, but also I agree. You can't
yeah.
fluff around with that stuff.